the body seems to be real. Well, even the body is nothing but space also, ultimately. All there is space in that case. So, how many awarenesses are there? There's only one. But then all of those guys there, he says, so you mean they were all there before? Yeah, I mean, that's a plural. I said, no. You see, I'm talking in terms just like the parts. So, that I am, okay, Ananda. You know, Anantam. You know Anantam? You know what Ananta means?
No end.
Limitlessness. Limitlessness. Anantam is equal to Ananda. See, Ananda doesn't mean bliss.
Yeah.
Ananda doesn't mean bliss. Ananda means limitlessness. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Satchit Ananda. That's who I am. Now, if I can, if I can pick that up, I can still have no problem. But then the fears and all the stresses that come as a consequence of identifying, you know, if you don't say good morning to me, I feel upset, you know. Why? Because you take away myself. Wait a second, how can you take away myself? You are myself. See the idea? So all these petty strifes, you know, all the pettiness that happens, you know, fighting for this and fighting for that, and how do you call this, you know, in families and all that, you know, the son suing the father and all that stuff, and all this stuff that goes on, oh my God. The brothers, you know, get out with each other, and no forgiveness, and all this stuff that goes on, you know. There's no accommodation for, you know, for ignorance. That's all it is. You know, Jesus, he was in the cross and he knew this stuff. They don't know what they're doing. That's all, it's just ignorance. And everything that we did is because of avidya.
Still going on.
It's still going on. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Yes.
That word anantam consists of two words again.
Okay.
An means no. Ant means the end or limit. So anand is limitless or no end.
No end, that's correct. There's only one thing, you know, that, anyway. So I just wanted to bring that up because this akarta, that's what he said right here at the end. He said, unless you consider yourself a doer, you cannot perform scriptural or worldly activities self being a product of self-ignorance. But for the one who has self-knowledge, this ignorance is not there, and thus it is said that vyavahara, all activity goes away. In other words, the sun doesn't rise. Why it rises? It still rises. See the idea? It's beautiful. Very beautiful. So it says a lot about you. Yes.
Are you saying that he's going to bridge the gap?
What gap? There's no gap.
There's no gap.
There's no gap. The gap is just
Ignorance.
just a notion, a sense. You know, a notion is a sense, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be a gap between you and me. There seems to be a gap, age gap, gender gap, space gap, time gap. See all these gaps, knowledge gap, experience gaps. Those gaps have no bearing on reality. They're just sense. However, for the mind, they seem very real, and for the senses, they seem very real. And you have to acknowledge that, and you have to deal with those gaps. And there's nothing wrong with dealing with it, as long as you know they're not real. You see, and then you just deal with them. But then the gaps create alienation. See the idea? If you place yourself from the standpoint of the woman, and you are alienated from your husband, only. If you take yourself only from the standpoint of the male, you are alienated from your wife. Why? Because a female has a completely different experience than a male. The male is a completely different, and there's no way to bridge that gap. You can say, I understand, but you don't really understand. Because you don't realize my shoes, isn't it? She doesn't understand. You don't understand. So there's a gap. Now, that gap can be murderous.
That can be or?
It can be murderous, you know, it can actually kill relationships.
Yeah.
You see the idea? So now, when you bridge the gap, as you were, it's when you bring some understanding. Okay, you know what? So you know what? I really don't understand you, and I respect you. So, what do you want? Kind of a thing, And then we just work with it. But sometimes those gaps, can be really, really, damaging, devastating. But if you have this knowledge, then you see there's no gap, and then you're free to say, "What's wrong with you, honey? What's the matter? I don't understand you, but tell me what you want," kind of a thing. Why? Because there's no competition. The sense of competition is not there. It says judgment, the thing all the time.
You.
Yeah, yeah, it's not there. Yeah. That thing goes away.
You did it.
Yeah. So we're trying to find flaw and fault and all this stuff, Of course there's all that stuff, My daughter the other day, she wanted me to do something, and they said, "You know what, let me do it." I said, why? I can't. "No, you're too rough." Because I'm a boy. So that's a perception of me. I can do it. But then, I just laugh at it. And I could be insulted by that. She's taking me for a fool, It's a gap. You see what I'm talking about? The bull, it can break. So that, the jnani, of course his differences. But then he knows those differences are not, they were just perceptions, they are senses. Okay, so all activity disappears. Just like the sun. All of a sudden, by knowing you stopped it. You didn't stop it. You were stopped before,
But sometimes, when somebody is wrong, it's rather keep quiet and then go back and do it to yourself. Instead of argument, you're not doing the job. This is the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If a simple matters, a clinic job or anything, it's not up to your satisfaction. The way I learned it, instead of arguing for this stupid thing, I always think this is stupid to argue. Do whatever you want. I'll go back and change it the way I want to do it. It's much better than having an argument.
That's great, but you can be hurt, or you can be hurt, or you can if you're hurt, you're bothered, like that. If you're bothered, or you bother others, if others bother you because somebody's cleaning after you, you really do the job, and this person is again, becomes insulting.
It's not something, that's the way it is.
But if the people are mature,
they know when they do the job, they know they're not doing the way it should be done. And then, but they still do it in a kind of idea.
That's right.
Okay, if you were satisfied,
but if both are mature, there's no problem. It's just a fun thing. But if one of them is not mature, one can be really angry at somebody, or the other one very, very hurt, insulted. You see what I'm talking about? But if the people are stita meaning established in security. You know what I'm talking about? Secure about themselves. He just laugh at all things. Okay, go ahead and do it. No problem. Doesn't bug me. Or it might be a better way. You know what? Let me show you how. In a way that is, not condescending, but in a way that is more, loving.
If they are willing to learn.
Yeah, for that, the other person, that's why they have to be mature. You see?
Right?
But you say, "You fool," and that starts right away. Even if you think it, this guy is a useless fella. Oh my God! Just a thought itself. Oh, women. Oh, and so on. And so it creates the gap, then becomes very rigid. Anyway, that's the point. I just wanted to come back to this. Okay. So there is this adhyasa that we create. Adhyasa is called, right? It's jnana adhyasa. We take something of what it's not. Right? Okay. Knowledge removes the notion of doership. Okay. Meena, you want to read?
Yeah. Knowledge removes the notion of doership. Does knowledge remove the product of ignorance, or does it remove the ignorance itself? Shankara deals with this question in his commentary on this verse. When knowledge takes place, the ignorance is removed. This knowledge, which is of the nature of a discriminative understanding between the real and the unreal, Atma, Anatma, Viveka, Jnana, is opposed to ignorance. Thus, when self-knowledge takes place, self-ignorance goes away. And when ignorance goes away, its broods, its products also go away.
All right. Any questions here? Any doubts or any comments?
I think this self